Good afternoon, I'm Raine Musñgi. This is Newsfeed. The Philippine stock market is closed today for the holiday, but investors are closely watching the Jackson Hole Economic Symposium, where U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is set to deliver his most important speech of the year later tonight. Powell, considered as the most powerful man in the U.S. economy, is widely expected to offer a much-needed insight on the pace and size of the U.S. Central Bank's future interest rate cuts. To recap, the PSE index finished the shortened trading week well above the 6,900 level, rising 1.7%. The Philippine peso, meanwhile, settled at 56.33 against the greenback, a fresh 4-month high.
Over the past 3 weeks, the market has essentially reversed its course after sliding all the way to a low of 6,400, rallying to as much as 7,000 a few weeks back. Essentially, investors are already positioning ahead of the potential cut of the U.S. Federal Reserve, which will happen perhaps in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks' time.
Moody's Ratings affirms the Baa2 investment grade credit rating of the Philippines with a stable outlook. It cites reforms to liberalize the Philippine economy, fiscal consolidation efforts, as well as robust macroeconomic fundamentals in retaining the grade. The credit rating agency also expects foreign direct investments in the Philippines to continue rising until 2025, with strong interest in energy, manufacturing, and the communications sectors. Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Governor Eli Remolona welcomes the decision. He says the BSP will continue taking a measured approach in safeguarding price stability conducive to sustainable economic growth. The NBI says Sheila Leal Go is likely to face charges for violating the Philippine Passport Act. In a press conference at the NBI on the arrest of Go and Cassandra Ong earlier, NBI Chief Jimmy Santiago says Sheila Go obtained her Philippine passport fraudulently. This is because Go and a certain national named Zhang Mier are one and the same person based on fingerprint analysis. Cassandra Ong, on the other hand, is charged with obstruction of justice in relation to the investigations on the illegal POGO operations. The NBI released mugshots of Go and Ong. According to the DOJ, after Ong's inquest, her custody will be turned over to the House of Representatives, while Sheila Go remains under the legal custody of the Bureau of Immigration. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris vows to chart a new way forward as she accepts the Democratic nomination for president. She also paints her Republican rival Donald Trump as a dangerous man and a lingering threat to American democracy. Eugenia Dahlia reports.
On behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
The race for the White House kicking into high gear. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris formally becomes the Democratic bet to take on Donald Trump in the November elections. Harris took the stage on the fourth and final night of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, sharing her vision and policy agenda.
We are charting a new way forward. Forward to a future with a strong and growing middle class, because we know a strong middle class has always been critical to America's success. And building that middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency. And as president, I will bring together labor and workers and small business owners and entrepreneurs and American companies to create jobs, to grow our economy, and to lower the cost of everyday needs like health care and housing and groceries. We will provide access to capital for small business owners and entrepreneurs and founders. And we will end America's housing shortage and protect Social Security and Medicare.
Harris also delivered a searing rebuke of Trump, casting him as a continuing threat to American democracy.
Fellow Americans, this election is not only the most important of our lives, it is one of the most important in the life of our nation. In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious. Just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails, and how he would use the immense powers of the presidency of the United States, not to improve your life, not to strengthen our national security, but to serve the only client he has ever had, himself.
After the DNC, Harris will face Trump in their first presidential debate on September 10. Outside the United Center Arena in Chicago, protesters took to the streets, demanding an end to the war in Gaza. The Israel-Hamas war has become a major election issue in the U.S., with critics saying the Biden administration is not doing enough to stop the carnage in the Palestinian enclave.
Who you vote for in November is less important as who wins. If Kamala Harris wins, we need to continue to push for a ceasefire.
A quest which Harris says won't go unanswered.
President Biden and I are working around the clock because now is the time to get a hostage deal and a ceasefire deal done. And let me be clear, I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7.
Harris emerged as the Democratic candidate just a month ago, when U.S. President Joe Biden dropped out of the race. If successful, she stands to make history as the first woman president of the U.S. Eugene Adalia, BNC.
Taiwan President Ching-te promises to continue the island republic's democratic way of life and vows it will never agree to being ruled by China's Communist Party. On his first trip to Kinmen since assuming office in May, Lai says Taiwan is no longer trying to retake the mainland, but is also unwilling to be ruled by Beijing. Lai is on the island to commemorate the 66th anniversary of a clash with Chinese forces known as the start of the Second Taiwan Strait crisis. Taiwan has controlled Kinmen and Matsu Islands just off the Chinese mainland's coast since the defeated Republic of China government fled to Taipei in 1949. Since February, Chinese Coast Guard has been conducting regular patrol around Kinmen following the death of 2 Chinese people on a speedboat, which Beijing blamed on Taipei. And those are the news this hour. I'm Raine Musñgi. Stay tuned to BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel on Free TV Channel 31 and on our website, bnc.ph. Thank you for watching and a safe and happy long weekend.